Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Tonight, control of Congress is still undecided as vote counts continue across the country, but we are getting a clearer picture. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi, and taking a look right now, the Senate is evenly split with the 3 races undecided, and so far, no party has claimed control of the House of Representatives. We just got the latest numbers from the San Diego County Registrar of Voters. The San Diego County Registrar of Voters just dropped that vote count, and we have been waiting for that. We are checking in on one of the races that has been too close to call, and another one that will be making history, and that's KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado. She's joining us live from the Election Center with more information. Kitty, what can you tell us?
That's right, Maya, and that vote count just dropped in seconds ago, and that vote count could change the balance of power, and that is in the 49th Congressional District between Democrat Mike Levin and Republican Brian Marriott. And right now, let's take a look at the latest numbers. Mike Levin has 51.1% of the vote, and Republican Marriott has 48.9% of the vote. And just last week, President Joe Biden came to rally for Levin. It looks like it did work. And we did speak with UC San Diego political science professor Thad Kauser about the youth vote and the impact it has had in this newly drawn district. Take a listen.
Mike Levin was buoyed in 2018, really by young voters around the UCSD area. This year, the new district was drawn, shifted the geographic boundaries of the district up north. So he lost that college area. He lost a lot of that youth vote. And that was part of why he is facing the political fight of his life and his career.
And those are just the local numbers. We still have to wait for the state numbers. And now he says that we do have to be patient with democracy. We have to wait until every last vote is counted before drawing any conclusions. And now let's go to the sheriff's race between Under Sheriff Kelly Martinez and former San Diego prosecutor John Hemmerling. And as of the last vote count, Martinez had a very comfortable lead, and let's take a look at the latest numbers now. Martinez has 57.1% of the vote, and Hemmerling has 42.9% of the vote. And now, if that still holds, now Martinez could become the first female sheriff in nearly the 200-year history of the San Diego County Sheriff's Department. That is very exciting for her. She still has a very comfortable lead. Now, coming up in a few minutes, we'll take a look at a race that the South Bay is stirring up a lot of controversy in the South Bay, as well as a ballot measure that could have a big impact on San Diegans. Back to you, Maya.
Thanks, Kitty. Looking forward to checking back with you later. How can we get more affordable housing in San Diego? The city's independent budget analyst has just put out a new report with a lot of ideas about how to do it. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer breaks it down for us.
It's no secret that San Diego and all of California has an affordable housing crisis. Rents in the region are near all-time highs, and inflation is affecting the cost of everyday necessities. ACE San Diego director Jose Lopez says that's pushing many San Diegans over the edge.
It's currently extremely difficult to be a renter. Most people are paying over half of their income on rent, and there are very few protections against eviction. So, if a tenant is evicted from their current unit, it's even more difficult to find a new place to live.
But there are efforts underway to combat this issue. That includes a new report from the city's independent budget analyst, 26 pages on how to improve housing affordability in San Diego. It suggests multiple ways to overcome certain barriers, such as permitting and financing, height limits, and funding shortfalls.
The magnitude of the problem is so great that not just one thing is going to solve the issue. So the more that the city can streamline, look at its own processes and make them better, I think the better we can have an impact on housing affordability.
City Council President Shawnilo Rivera was one of 3 council members who requested the analysis. He says it's a first step that could eventually lead to changes and investments to get more housing built in San Diego.
Through streamlining permitting and processing, through changes to rules and regulations about what can be built where, and then about programs that we can put into place to make housing more affordable. We need to put every single option on the table.
Cassis says the next step is for the City Council to digest the report while the IBA office awaits a response. That could include presentations to the Council for further guidance on the region's housing struggles. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
Pax. San Diego renters will have to dig even deeper into their pockets to pay for housing in the next 2 years. A USC Kasdan economics forecast predicts rent increases of $250 by October of 2024, which is a rate that outpaces Los Angeles and Orange counties. Those counties to the north will also see an increase between $100 and $184 in the next couple of years. And according to the report, current average rent in San Diego County is just over $2,300. Some welcome news to talk about. Inflation cooled more than expected in October. The news ignited hopes that the Fed's big interest rate hikes may be in the rear-view mirror. But analysts say there are still causes for concern. Mike Valerio breaks it down for us.
The headline, better than expected news on inflation, as the rate of price increases is still falling from a 4-decade high. New data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics out Thursday show the higher prices we're paying for everyday items slowed further last month, dropping from a peak in June. Economic analyst Rana Farohar says American finances are strong and
we've also now got a report that says inflation is starting to dampen. Boy, that could be game-changing for the markets and for the American public in the next couple of years.
Still, analysts note prices in crucial areas remain higher than last year, and people are feeling the pinch.
What's particularly troubling is that the areas where we are seeing the largest and most consistent increases are categories that are absolute necessities, food, energy, and shelter.
As Thanksgiving approaches, food is still getting more expensive, but at a slower pace than earlier this year. There's also the renewed threat of a rail strike in early December, which could cripple the supply chain.
If you have renewed disruptions to the supply chain, that is going to add another element of price pressure that either pushes prices higher or just keeps them from falling like we'd like to see.
The question now, could this preview the end of big interest rate hikes?
The bottom line is, we need to see a sustained moderation in inflation pressures. One in a row is not a streak. We need a long winning streak.
The Fed makes its next rate hike decision on December 14th. Mike Valerio, KPBS News.
The San Diego Humane Society is also ready to help where needed as it monitors Tropical Storm Nicole. Their emergency response team is on standby as local crews in Florida assess the damage. While San Diegans are unlikely to face a hurricane, the Humane Society says it is important to stay ready for any local disasters.
Yeah, anytime we see a disaster, it's such an important reminder for us here at home to be ready as well, especially people with pets. During a disaster is not a time to prepare, it's in between and before. So if you have pets, make sure that you are ready, that you can easily get your cat in a crate or get your dog in the car or a horse in the trailer.
A 4-member crew also joined recovery efforts after Hurricane Ian, helping pets and families displaced by the storm. And the San Diego Humane Society says its shelters are overflowing with animals. KPBS reporter Melissa May says the society is putting out an urgent call for foster homes for these pets.
We have so many animals across our campuses. We have more than 1,500 animals in our care. We have more than 600 animals available for adoption, and we are just out of space.
Nina Thompson is the Director of Public Relations at the San Diego Humane Society. She says at least 50 foster volunteers are needed to make space for other pets in need.
Really all you need is time and love, because we provide the resources. We provide the food, the medical, the know-how. We'll help you and guide you along the way. We just need the home. and the love.
Chris Queen has been a foster volunteer for almost 5 years. She specializes in fostering mama cats and their kittens. She says the animals benefit from fostering.
When we have them in a foster home, they get to, number one, it reduces the stress of being in a shelter environment, but most importantly, I think that it helps them to learn how to live in a home environment, because that's where eventually they will be.
She says the people benefit too.
You are making a difference, and you're helping the animals, you're helping the shelter, and you actually are helping yourself too, because it fills your heart with so much joy and love when you foster that it's a win-win for everyone, really.
There is no strict time frame to being a foster volunteer. You may not be able to commit to being a full-time foster, but if you can open up your home for a month, a few weeks, or even just on the weekend, that time could really help a shelter pet become a full-time family member.
It could be a guinea pig, it could be a bunny, cat, dog. We have so many different kinds. We have senior pets, we have puppies, kittens. So no matter where you are in your stage of life, we probably have a match for you.
If you want to help animals, and you cannot have your own animals, fostering is the best possible option, because it's temporary, but you're making such a huge difference.
Even homes with pets are still eligible to foster. Applications and photos of the hundreds of pets available for fostering can be found online at sdhumane.org/fosterpets. Melissa May, KPBS News.
The California Public Utilities Commission released new proposals today for people who generate electricity from rooftops, solar, and sell it back to the grid. Regulators hope that new rules will encourage people to install solar arrays and battery systems, but some worry fewer solar systems will be installed. Regulators also hope that raising peak electrical prices will create a financial incentive to install battery storage. The plan does not include what advocates called a solar tax, a $60 monthly mandatory grid connection charge. The proposed rules also slash the value of electricity generated on rooftops.
They're proposing a 75% decline in the value of solar energy exported to the grid effective April 2023. That's a pretty big drop in the value of solar, and it's hard to imagine that that's not going to hurt.
We would like to see reform of the net energy metering program to eliminate this cost shift and bring the program more in balance so that all customers are paying their fair share.
About 1.5 million existing solar customers are not affected by the proposed net metering changes. Regulators could meet to make a final decision in mid-December. The 25 most remarkable teens in San Diego are being honored tonight for their accomplishments and contributions to the community. Every year, the San Diego County Public Defender's Office recognizes the outstanding youth nominated for making a difference in their own way. KPBS education reporter MG Perez introduces us to 3 of them.
13-year-old McKenna Stumpo tunes up his guitar, which he plays well. But it's the piano that really makes him sing.
Slow down, you crazy child, just so
McKenna is an 8th grade student at Pacific Beach Middle School who says he might be a marine biologist when he grows up. Musician could be another career. This remarkable young man uses his talent to raise awareness and donations for charities like the Prevent Drowning Foundation. He raised $200 last summer singing in a park. He also sings in retirement homes.
Most people have visions, but they don't go out to achieve it. I think remarkable people are the ones that go out to achieve their dreams and their visions.
17-year-old Leslie Pagel is a Crawford High School senior on the move, out and proud.
I went through a lot of labels that didn't really fit me personally, and I found that the label queer is very broad and encompassing of who I am.
Leslie wears her diversity on her sleeve as proof of her strength. Freshman year, she and her parents moved to San Diego from Tijuana, where she was harassed and bullied for being gay by classmates and teachers, too. At Crawford, she's blossomed as president of the Gay Student Alliance and as a budding artist, using her remarkable creativity to honor LGBTQ history and inspire others like her.
I truly believe that I was alone because other adults made me feel alone, because the government made me feel alone. They made me feel like I didn't deserve any rights or that I didn't deserve any love.
The nurse can also create tasks very easily.
MedAlert is a potentially life-saving app you can download right now. It's produced by a company whose CEO is 16-year-old Vedant Nahar, a junior at Scripps Ranch High School.
My friend's grandmother, she accidentally passed away due to a medication error in a nursing facility. And using that as inspiration, my team and I created MedAlert because we wanted to solve the issue of medication errors in these nursing facilities.
Vedant is also a star athlete with a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo, and he's on his varsity swim team. This remarkable student plans to use all his experience, strength, and hope to be a tech entrepreneur someday.
Finding problems, innovating to create solutions, bringing them to market, having people use it to help other people solve their issues.
Vedant, Leslie, and McKenna, 3 of San Diego's most remarkable teens. MG Perez, KPBS News.
Health officials are concerned about a potential surge of respiratory illnesses as we lead up into the holidays. They're asking Americans to get a COVID-19 booster shot if they haven't already. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says less than 10% of the country received the latest shot. In addition to a rise of COVID cases this winter, health officials say the flu has already been rapidly spreading in some areas. A Mexican artist's portrait of Dr. Anthony Fauci is being unveiled at the National Portrait Gallery today. KPBS Arts producer and editor Julia Dixon Evans shows us how the artist uses stop-motion animation to capture some of the defining moments of Fauci's career.
In his airy Rosarito studio, border artist Hugo Crossfait spent months meticulously drawing and photographing, composing a narrative portrait of Dr. Anthony Fauci as he went. The finished work is a 5-minute stop-motion animation film. It's more than just a portrait of Fauci. The animation gave Crossfait a chance to tell a bigger story.
To me, doing that portrait had this opportunity not just to do the portrait of a man, but do a portrait of this particular moment that we're living in, this pandemic.
The work is an extraordinary look at someone who has been the face of science in America during the pandemic. The animation is intricately, stunningly rendered, and powerful to watch. The film opens with gloomy, suspenseful music and a drawing of Fauci, pensive at the height of the COVID pandemic. His career is bookended by crisis, the COVID-19 pandemic today and the HIV/AIDS epidemic in the 80s. Crossfait shows a stark contrast in attitudes toward public health and science, now and then.
They were fighting for medicines. They were fighting for government involvement in, to save them from, to help them deal with this pathogen. And then with the COVID-19 pandemic, kind of the opposite happened, no? We have a vaccine, we have the medicines, we have the treatment, but then it's a population that rises against those things.
Crossfait began drawing as a kid, killing time in his father's curio shop in Rosarito. Then, while people watching along Tijuana's busy streets and plazas, he drew elaborate narratives, whether invented or reflective of a human condition. In Fauci's portrait, the narrative rises from the American response to the pandemic.
In a moment where truth was being denied, and alternative facts were coming up, and he became this personification of science, of real fact, of truth. So then immediately I knew that the narrative that I wanted to tell with this animation would be these two antagonistic forces, no? It would be, science against superstition. Truth against lies,
To make a stop-motion video, Crossfait does it all by hand. He draws a detail, snaps a picture, draws another detail, and repeats. The effect is full of movement. As figures emerge and wobble with tiny shifts of the camera angle, the animations buzz with life.
It's this process where one detail leads to the next and leads to the next, and then I'm composing narrative, kind of like a writer would or a poet would compose a poem, where you string together words and you're creating a narrative. That's the same process I use with my work, with my drawing.
It ends with a recent likeness of Fauci, but along the way, there are healthcare workers, protesters, sick people connected to ventilators, and someone receiving a vaccine, all elements of Fauci's legacy.
100 years from now, nobody's going to know who Dr. Fauci is. Nobody's going to know who I am. Nobody's, names and places get forgotten. But stories are universal, no? Like, we've had the story of science fighting against superstitions since there's been science, no?
Julia Dixon-Evans, KPBS News.
I'm meteorologist Ariella Scalise. Let's start with your weather headlines here. We're getting drier. We're getting even a little bit warmer as we head throughout our Friday. But a storm system to our north moving in on Sunday is going to impact our weather. It's going to bring a westerly wind, bringing some of those cooler temperatures, and the wind will be gusty at times. So heads up for another change on the way. Heading into tonight, chilly if you're in Oceanside, 39. San Diego drops to 47. Chula Vista down to about 45. Borrego Springs, you'll drop to about 42, and chilly in Mount Laguna at 34 overnight. Then as we head into our day on Friday, we'll still stay dry. It's still going to be a little bit cool, but we may see temperatures up a few degrees compared to where we were today. And then as we head into our Friday, we'll keep that sunshine around. How about 70 degrees for San Diego, Oceanside 71, Borrego Springs 72, and we're still into the mid-50s for Mount Laguna on our Friday. And then Saturday, I mentioned that storm system beginning to move on into our north, so you'll see some of those showers in Redding, snow showers in Reno. We'll be dry and a little bit milder with that high pressure in control, but that low is going to kick up that onshore flow, that coastal breeze that we're going to deal with, and eventually that will get pretty gusty as we head into our weekend and into next week. What does that look like for your 5-day outlook then along the coast? Well, 70s for your Friday, a little bit cooler with those temperatures into the upper 60s for the weekend. And even next week, we'll stay into those upper 60s. Your 5-day forecast for the inland valleys, another day in the 70s on Friday, upper 60s on Saturday, and then does turn a little bit cooler by Sunday with temperatures only into the mid 60s. That cooler air lingers Monday, but then we're back to the 70s by Tuesday. For the mountains, we'll have those mid 50s for Friday and Saturday, but temperatures only into the 40s with the wind on Sunday, and then we're back to the 50s by the start of next week. And then your final 5-day outlook takes us to the desert, where temperatures will stay pretty consistent into the low 70s as we head into the weekend and next week. For KPBS, I'm meteorologist Ariella Scalise.
We know that every vote counts, and it's especially true in a few local races with razor-thin margins. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado joins us live with more results from the latest vote count. Kitty.
That's right, Maya, and it's not just candidates that San Diegans are waiting for results on. They're also waiting for results on propositions, and among them Measure B, or the change to the People's Ordinance. And if it passes, for the first time in 100 years, single-family homeowners in San Diego would have to pay for trash pickup. And before today's updates, it was failing, but it was close. And now let's take a look at the new numbers, and it's still failing by 50.73% of the vote. And Council President Sean Elo Rivera made a strong case for the measure, saying that trash pickup really wasn't free. It comes out of the general fund, and he said for half of the city's residents to get that free trash pickup, it ends up costing taxpayers millions. Another close race is Measure C. That is the ballot measure that excludes the Midway district from the city's 30-foot height limit. The measure was passing by a slim margin before the update, and now that is still the case with 50.24% of the vote. Supporters of this measure say it is critical for revitalization in the area, and much needed housing. Critics say it will make traffic worse. Another race we've been following is for the Chula Vista City Attorney. Early results showed a slight lead for the Democrat Simon Silva, who died of cancer in September. Republican Dan Smith was trailing Silva by just a point, and now in this latest update, Silva is still ahead with just over 50% of the vote. 50.2% of the vote. And the Chula Vista City Clerk said that if Silva wins, they will be forced to hold a special election to fill the position in 2023. And the registrar's office tells me that they will now update the numbers once a day, and the results will remain unofficial until December 8th. And you can find more results on our website, kpbs.org. Live in the KPBS Election Center, Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
Thank you so much for that update, Katie. The Black Panther sequel faced a real-life tragedy and an enormous narrative hurdle when its star Chadwick Boseman unexpectedly died of colon cancer back in 2020. There was no way to replace Boseman, so the franchise, they had to pivot. KPBS film critic Beth Accomando has this review of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
A Black Panther sequel with Chadwick Boseman would have been a very different and likely better film from what we get in Wakanda Forever, which feels cobbled together from different rescue plans to deliver a product on time. In the first film, Boseman and Michael B. Jordan gave us a flawed but noble hero and a nemesis who was genuinely sympathetic. Now, writer-director Ryan Coogler tries to deliver a parallel dynamic between Shuri and a new character.
I have many names. My people call me Kukungkan, but my enemies call me Namor.
And for a brief moment, he succeeds. But sadly, the Marvel formula demands something epic and preferably CGI'd for the third act. And that's where the film flounders. I'm not sure why two nations of color have to fight each other, sacrificing thousands of people for badly contrived reasons, rather than joining forces to fight the colonizers they both distrust. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever pays loving tribute to the passing of its title character in a manner that also acknowledges the real-life loss of Boseman. But it's a sequel that falls far short of its original. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
And we thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.